everyone, it's Braylon and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would do something that I get asked to do all the time and just honestly don't have the energy to do very often, and that is to plan on camera with you all. Planning for me takes a whole week, as I've talked about so many times on this channel, and it doesn't take me very long because I feel like I know my students really well and I simplify everything. I have 2 or 3 different academic groups and I kind of just like go with it and plan basic things. So what's happening in my life is that I am starting to teach in person in a few days. And so I need to plan my in-person students completely today, and then I need to plan my remote students or my hybrid students probably tomorrow or the day after that. And so this week I thought I would show you all just how I plan everything out. I'm going to be doing it on paper and I'm going to be showing you down here my view on my table, and hopefully it might help some of you and kind of, I don't know, help along the process. I normally don't use this much paper. My paraprofessionals and I have really good communication and they are so talented and so knowledgeable of all of my students as well. So I tend to really simplify every type of lesson plan that I have because they're just so talented. For the sake of the video, I will be going a little bit more in depth, showing you each individual page. Please don't think you need to have this many pages for a lesson plan, but for the sake of the video, to lay everything out and explain it to you, I'm going to be doing each section of my day on an individual sheet of paper so that it's easier for you to see and understand. But at the end, I will put it all together on my little bigger lesson plan thing. Something that's annoying in special ed is we have so many different grades, so many different groups, so our lesson plans have to be detailed, and we have a lot of different staff members. For me, as a self-contained teacher, I have so many moving parts. When you're in college, you have to write lesson plans for each individual lesson, and that's not how I roll. I do have a lesson plan sheet that is meant to kind of house that one subject for that one group of students all on one page. If you're interested in how I organize all of my materials and leave them for my paraprofessionals, then I will link the video down below. After I do this, I gather the materials, put them into folders, and hang them in my hanging folder system. And that's in a previous video, you can check that out. But that allows me and my paras to be able to be around the classroom, see that the schedule says reading, see the group we have, pull up the materials, and we're good to go. All right, so the first thing we have this sheet, which is the weekly lesson plans, just kind of overview. Let me get myself a pen. We're gonna get started. So the first thing I always plan is my whole group read aloud. So this will be, oh, there's a car. Welcome to my life. There are cars. And this is gonna be for January 25th. And this is for a whole group. So I've talked about this before in many videos. Wednesdays are my remote half day, so I'm going to leave Wednesdays out. But if you're looking at this in order to replicate it, you could add whatever you want on Wednesdays. Here are the 4 books that we're going to read next week. Every book that I use is a read aloud. I make a quick little storyboard for it. I usually get pictures off of the internet, whether it's the main characters. I at least have pictures of the main characters, pictures of a few things that they do, and every kid gets that printout. So as we read, they can point to the answers if they're not able to respond verbally. It takes me literally 1 minute to make a storyboard for each thing. We're gonna read The Princess and the Pony, A Loud Winter's Nap, The Rainbow Fish, and Pig the Star. So I think I'll start with Pig the Star. So that will go here. Great. So this is for all of them, but I'll just show you in one box. First, we're going to read, then we're going to review the storyboard, and then we'll answer, oops, I spelled answer wrong. Answer questions. Those are the activities. So for the directions, we need to review our safe sitting. We also need to review our vocabulary, and then we will identify the characters and the plot. Now, this probably looks so messy. It is, but I just want to show you read alouds can be super simple. So I'm going to fill that in for the rest of them. The IEP target skills, all of my students are doing different things, so I can't really fill this out 100%, but I think overall the skill is just honestly to like listen. And another big skill that they're working on is following a book, like following a read aloud, which is a skill that they're going to need whether they're in inclusion or they're in my classroom. So read alouds are all set. I don't know what this shot is going to look like, but hopefully it works out. So the next subject that we're going to do is I'm going to move on to, which one should I do next? My small group, which they are reading and they are following, they're on grade level, and it's grade 1. So these are my students that they just need a little bit of support, but for the most part, they are on grade level for first grade. And so a lot of what we're working on is just some of those supplementary things. Oh my gosh, it's snowing outside. Oh, this is so exciting. Sorry, I got distracted. Whatever the first grade is doing in the general ed classroom when they're doing inclusion, I tend to review with them. So I'm not gonna write that in my lesson plans because the first grade teachers, at least for me, they send everything to me that they're going to do, those inclusion teachers. Sometimes it's a certain read aloud, we review it, we review the vocabulary words before they head off to their inclusion room or on Zoom. Or sometimes they're working on certain types of stories or certain types of sentences or parts of speech. So we review those before they go to their class. So that's not necessarily a lesson, it's more just me making sure that they're ready for inclusion. So, but they are with me for a chunk of the day, and they do have IEP goals related to reading and ELA in general. So I am going to be working on some things with them. So a big objective for them is to work on rhyming / word families. I'm saving myself time because I'm just showing you all like this. So that's the main objective. For their IEP skills, it's a group of students that have some different skills, but for the most part, they're also working on decoding, rhyming, making sure that their sentences work together. So there are a lot of like objectives that I'm going to be able to hit with this reading block that I have with them. But for the most part, I'm just going to continue what we're doing. So they're still working on rhyme and they're still working on decoding. So I'm just going to draw an arrow because I don't want to rewrite it again. The materials that we're going to need. Now, let me show you some of the things that we are working on. So when I print materials, and I've probably shown this to you a bunch of times, I print them from a lot of places. I print them from Super Teacher worksheets. I print them from our grade level unit plans and curriculums, any of the other extra grammar books and rhyming books that I have. So I can't really give you a specific place to go. I look at like Goodwill a lot, Lakeshore, different places that have printables. Because we're coming back in person, we'll probably still be using some boom cards and all of those things. So this video is not going to be like where to find your resources, but I will say a gabillion times, Super Teacher worksheets help me so much. Worksheets are our friends. We're still going to have a lesson, but it's helpful to have other stuff. So for this, we're either going to be using our worksheets. We need dry erase boards, and we'll probably, need a pencil. So they're in a small group with me. Obviously, like I said, Wednesdays don't actually happen, but I'm just ignoring that for now. So some of the activities, I'm going to move this out of the way for a second, because some of the activities that we're going to do, we're going to practice rhyming, which one rhymes, and then let's see what else. We're working on the ELL, ending of rhymes, so we'll brainstorm them together. That's an activity for a day. There's some more brainstorming, finding the missing letter of the rhyming words. What is this? Oh, writing our sentences correctly. That's something they're still working on. We can still talk about rhyming with Jam, Sam. All these are rhyming words as we put them into sentences for grammar. And so I think we'll get a lot out of this. Word order in a sentence, and we can still work on rhymes with cat, hat, all of this stuff. So all of these are just from a plethora of places that Super Teacher Worksheets is a yearly subscription of $20, but there are plenty there are plenty of workbooks that I found like at Goodwill that are pretty cheap. So that's kind of the activity. So maybe this day we will brainstorm rhyming, and then we might do some sentences, and then maybe this day we'll work on the word families and a little bit of sentence. And then I'll repeat that. Some more brainstorm of rhyming words and word families. You know, it just depends on what you're feeling. I don't make strict plans. They're still kind of loose because there's still a lot that we can do. It depends on the student and what they start to need. You might see Monday, Tuesday, they're really getting it. So Thursday, Friday, you continue with your plan, but you add some more challenging words. It just depends. And then we'll just continue our sentences. For this group, I also will be doing a spelling unit, which I need to print those materials, but it's so short. It's like a 5-10 minute little spelling unit where we're going to get spelling words for the week. We're going to practice them in sentences and then quiz them on Fridays, because that's what they do in the grade level, like regular classrooms. And I want to make sure they're in that routine. So I won't add that here, but just so you know, spelling is a part of it. So directions, you know, they'll come to their seats. We might start with like an icebreaker or a warm-up. And then from the warm-up, we'll get into the activity. And we always review like our rules at the table. So our small group rules. And there it is. I just wrote the basic things. You could write it way more in depth, but again, this is good enough for me to know exactly what I'm doing, and it's good enough for my paras. So we're moving on. All right, so for this group, which is also on January 25th, this is also reading, but this is my group 2. These students are working on more vocabulary, more adapted learning. So for some of them, they're still working on speaking in 2 to 3 sentences. They actually have a lot of skills related to like understanding what they're reading, which is really impressive. I can't get into too much of where they're at specifically in life, but this is super helpful. If you're writing this type of thing and you want the time, you can always add the time, but I'm not going to. So for these students, we are working on talking about communities and caregivers. This book is from Reading A to Z. So we will be looking at this book, going through it, and then talking about the vocabulary words of firefighter, officer, caretaker. That's also what they're doing in their ESL class. That's also what they're doing in speech with the speech pathologist. So I'm continuing the trend. You can always reach out to the other services that they have and try to find things that work within that same theme. Sometimes that helps me and just gives me like a direction on what I'm teaching. So caretakers and community helpers. So we'll be doing that. And every time we read the story, we stop, we look at the vocab word. They have to spell the vocab word either with, letter blocks or on devices or whatever it may be, and answer some questions. And I always do the stories 2 days in a row. So we'll do that. And then I have a couple of these make a sentence because they're working on, longer sentences. They cut and paste the sentence and then we write the sentence and then they draw it. But yeah, and a big thing with this group is we will also be reviewing the read-alouds from the day. So we've already done our read-aloud, but when they first get to the group, they'll look at the read-aloud of the day, we'll go through it again, and then we'll move on. So my main objective is, honestly, is just story, vocab, and sentence. And for them, their targets are comprehension, and a lot of what they're working on is more of just that vocabulary. So that's how it is for the whole thing and for the whole thing. So the materials, they're going to need their Reading A to Z book. They're going to need their letters, whether it's magnet letters or letter tiles or whatever it may be. So we are going to look at caretakers, the book Caretakers from Raz, and we're actually going to do that this day, and this day. So caretakers, we're going to look at the vocabulary, talk about each vocabulary word, have them spell. Then we're going to move on to building a sentence. And the goal of this is to last 30 minutes, but it won't. Like, there's no other way for me to say it. It probably will not last 30 minutes, and that's totally okay. So we're going to do that for 2 days, and then on Thursday, Friday, instead of the caretaker's book, then we'll do the community helpers book. So then for here, we'll do community helpers. We'll do the same thing. We'll spell the vocabulary, and then we will build sentences. So I hope what this is showing you, if anything, is that it's definitely takes a little bit of planning, but it's really not that stressful, because when you break it down, I usually do things 2 days in a row so that they can understand it for a lot of my students, but also it doesn't have to be so complex. It can still be very simple. So we'll move right along. The next group that I have is working on phonics. They're working on the beginnings of phonics. So I'll show you really quickly. They're working on the middle sounds of phonics words. I found these for free from like a booklet. Some of the things we have are from Breezy Special Ed, which is like these simple, oh my gosh, I can't get it. Simple readers of transportation. These students have been working on transportation for the past couple weeks in their other services. So I'm just continuing that trend. And for our writing class, we do writing books. So that's what we're doing here. I'm not going to go too much in depth. I'm not even going to write this because it's exactly the same as the previous group. We're going to be looking at reading A to Z books. Then we will stop. That takes about 6 minutes. Then we'll work on one of these to talk about the middle sounds. We'll do a couple of examples. I want to talk for a second about social skills group. I either do a social skills group or a life skills group every day. I made this free unit for Teachers Pay Teachers. We did like a collaboration together for social justice. And so that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, how people can be mean and how to be a good friend. So those are what we're going to work on for the next couple days. Oh, oops, sorry everyone. I found something in here that I didn't need. So we're going to be reading the book called Speak Up by Miranda Paul. It comes with the storyboard that I made. If you want to get it, I'll leave it linked down below. It's free. And then we're going to answer some questions about what it means to speak up, talking different character stories. I know that Made For Me Literacy just released their newest unit, which is on friendship. So I will leave that link down below too. It's $12, a bit more expensive, but they have so many good things and it comes with a lot of digital stuff. So if you're doing this digitally, you can still use it. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that. I don't write lesson plans for my social skills and life skills because I teach them. It just comes from my brain. Usually we start with like an icebreaker of some sort, like the kids will play a game together or they have to go around and say something nice to another person. And if they're not able to use their words, then I give them a sticky note that says, I like your hair, and they have to go deliver that to their friend. So we are starting the process of that. Then we'll read the story. We'll probably do that 2 days in a row because again, it needs some time to solidify. Yeah, and just kind of go from there. Maybe we'll do a little friendship game. It honestly all depends. So I don't have my math materials, but I want to show you really quickly what it looks like. So this will be math. This will be for group 1, which is my higher level math. And this week they are working on addition. So 2-digit addition or multi-digit addition, no regrouping. So usually what we start off with is we start off with those, what are they called? Unifix cubes or whatever they're called, the cubes. So we're going to need cubes. We're going to need 100 of them because in the Unifix cubes, you all know what this looks like, right? A strip of 10, a strip of 10, you get it. So they're going to be talking a little bit about place value. They'll probably do some place value activities. So for example, my staff member will give them a number and then they have to build it with their cubes. And then honestly, they'll do some extra practice doing some addition problems. So, lining up the addition problem and solving it themselves. They're going to need a dry erase board. So usually my para, who's so good with this, they will give like a number, like, 23 plus 32, and the students will have to really practice lining it up and solving it themselves. We've been working on this for a couple weeks, and we'll just have to keep practicing. In order to make it exciting, we might then play like a game on the computer, and that kind of makes it fun because sometimes on their iPads or just on the teacher computer, they'll take turns playing that game, and we usually spray it in between for sanitization's sake. But that kind of like makes it a little bit more exciting. Sometimes we play memory games with it. The unit or the block usually lasts about 30 minutes. If they go for 15 to 20 minutes, I count it as complete. Then they will get to earn their like toy or their activity at the end of that block. So that's kind of the plan for this, and my para knows what to do. So we'll do that the rest of the week. And for this group, we are still working on shapes and numbers. So that's what we're going to focus on. That's their IEP goal, is to learn shapes and to learn numbers 1 through 20. I don't overcomplicate these things. They're still very simple to me because I just want the basics. And especially going back in person and it being still COVID time, again, I don't want too many manipulatives, too many things, but I have found that if I try to do one activity for 15 minutes, I'll lose them. I'll have behaviors. Or if I try to do 85 different activities within that block, I'll lose them as well. So a 30-minute block, which if they get through 15 to 20 minutes, I say nice job. Sometimes to fill the gaps, I'll actually start the whole class together as like a whole group because it is self-contained. And some of the kids will go to inclusion, then they'll leave from there. That's just the way I try to work my schedule so that it lines up with what the general ed is doing. So then I'll release those kids with the staff to go do what they need to do. Or if all of us are going to be in the room together, we start with a song or some basic skill that we do or a game. Then we break up into our math groups and do 15 minutes there. Then they know they've done what they need to do, come back to their seats and do their earned activity. The last thing I want to touch on is science. So science or social studies, I alternate different weeks. This week I will be doing science, and yeah, that's the goal. We're going to be talking about beans. We're going to be making the little beans where you put it in the baggie and it has to sprout. We're excited about that. So I printed off some of these free things from Super Teachers, just what a young bean plant looks like on the inside. We'll be watching little videos. I found this, which we can make copies of. I haven't made copies of this yet, but just, a little circle, and we get to label it and color it, and we'll observe our beans. We'll start on Monday. We'll observe them every day and see what happens. And then, yeah, and we are finishing up our talking about rocks. So if we finish through the beans, we'll move on to rocks and soil. All of this stuff is free. So I will try to leave down below as many links as I can find of the freebies. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. I also teach science, so I tend not to write a long lesson plan for that. If I know on that first day we're going to look at beans and we're going to put them in baggies, that's going to take us 20 minutes. The next day we'll start to observe them and draw what it looks like. Again, easy. YouTube video use and all that other stuff. So that's kind of my plan for science. And yeah, I just had to make copies of this. I'm trying to think. I think that's it. So as you can see, that whole process didn't take me very long. I've talked about it so many times, but on Monday I kind of brainstorm what I want. On Tuesday I will write these plans, takes me 15 minutes. And on Wednesday I will start to print. So today is Wednesday. So I will print all this stuff like I just did. There's a few more things I need to print. Thursday I'll start making my copies, and Friday I'll disseminate it. So that's really helpful. I want to show you really fast before we finish. With me and my paras, I always have something like this for the whole week. So this will be for the week of, oh my gosh, I cannot write and talk at the same time. January 25th, 2021. And I try to do this so that they know what's coming. So for example, on Wednesdays, we have a half day. We have a 1 p.m. PD session, and we have a 2:30 special ed PD. So I want them to have all of this information, right? Yeah, so this is the plan. On Mondays, if there are anything I want to add, I will tell them. I'm not going to add it now because it has students' names and people's names. But then I add this either online if we are remote, or I give this physically to them so that they know. I will also make copies of this when it's more written out of the specific lesson plans, make copies for that, and that will kind of be all attached together, and then I hand it to them. So that's really helpful for them. I don't often write really detailed ones like this, like I said, because my paras and I have such a really good relationship, working relationship. I will make one like this, and I just want to show you what it will look like. So the same thing, what the week is. So on the side, I put all the subjects. So for example, this will be the read aloud. This will be reading 1, and then reading 2. We'll do math 1 and math 2, science, social skills. Oh, I forgot to show you writing. I never write down writing. I use a writing workbook. I will leave the link down below for the guided drawing. We do a guided drawing, then we write 3 sentences. It's from the Moffat girls. Every day we do a different page, and we've done it online, and I'm doing it in person. Makes my life so much easier. So that's kind of along the same side. So I just transfer the information from here to there. So the read aloud, whatever the read aloud was, let's take a look. Here's the read aloud. So on Monday, I would put Pig the Star. And then I would just continue along. So whatever method works best for you. For me and my paras, this is what we use exclusively. But for the sake of the video, I wanted to show you what it looks like. At the beginning of the year, I used these because me and my paras were just getting used to working together, and I wanted them to have the detailed stuff. But now that we are just in a really good headspace, we've now moved on to these, and I just hand it over. They know what groups they have, and they're good to go. Okay, my battery just died on my camera, and I'm basically done with the video, so I'm not going to go get the extra one. I just wanted to finish the video by saying that every teacher is different, and every planning strategy is different. I have very different students now than I did back then, but still, once you kind of get to know them, I go at a really slow, steady pace, and you've seen me do this so many times, but once I get closer to the end of the school year, I start making all of the scopes and sequences for the following year based off of the grade level stuff. So that just gives me some vision, and then it helps me in the long run. Here I am, my new year, kind of having a blueprint for what we're doing day to day. Sorry, I just dropped the camera. Anywho, so I wanted to make that clear, and yeah, I hope that there was something about this that was helpful. Those lesson plan pages, I will link down below as well. I hope that there was something that you found that maybe could support you or help you kind of in your workflow as you continue this. This is a tricky job. It's a challenging job. It's so fun, but it takes a lot of work, and I don't want anyone to get burnt out just because they're planning all day and all night. It doesn't have to be that way. And you can always simplify a lesson and do, what you need to do and not have it be too complicated. So yeah, love you all. You're the best people ever, and I love this channel, and I will see you in the next video.